Just a few months ahead of Tesla's plan to launch a robotaxi service in Austin, Waymo and Uber have partnered together and made their own announcement. As of today, Uber will offer Waymo rides on its platform. It's interesting how they're showing it on the app where you don't necessarily know if you're getting a driverless car or not. The main likely reason is there just won't be very many of these Waymo cars, and it's not any cheaper than normal rides. Plus, Uber announced they're working with a Spanish fleet operator called Waymo to handle the cleaning, maintenance, and charging. Let's dive deeper on what this all means and what will happen when they go head-to-head with Tesla. Got Hans Nelson joining us. Welcome, Hans.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
So this is it. We're getting to the wire where we've got Waymo, Uber, and Waymo announcing right now in March. And then, of course, still on track. Tesla's supposed to launch their program somewhere in June, a couple months ago. Do you think right off the bat here, do you think that this was kind of planned by Waymo to go straight ahead, or this was something that they were planning for a year or two already? Uber and Waymo begin driverless ride-hailing service in Austin.
So I would speculate that is kind of both. I think that Waymo has been looking to enter the Austin market for a while. You know, it's one of the markets that makes a lot of sense after Chandler and San Francisco. And so I think, Waymo's probably been planning to do this for a while. And then the partnership between Uber and Waymo has been evolving over time. And so I'm sure that, it made sense for them to say, okay, for this next rollout, let's figure out how we can do this together. But then on the flip side, I think Tesla's announcement of planning to launch a robotaxi service in June in Austin may have really put the pressure on as far as timelines are concerned and force them to try and not only get this done, but get this announcement out ahead of time so that they can try and front run this move by Tesla. But I'm really excited about this actually, because I think, this is great for ride hail customers in Austin. And I like to see Tesla actually having some competition. I think this is going to, put a lot of pressure on them to deliver the goods and deliver them well. So
Yeah.
I think this is great news.
My guess would be that Uber wanted, was hoping that Tesla would partner, right? Dara did come out and say that he's been talking to Elon Musk several times, probably begging Elon, and Elon just kept saying no. But it would have been perfect for Uber to say, okay, we're going to be in Austin. You guys are there. Waymo's there. Let me help you, show you how we could work together. And then now they've got these two partners and showcase what their offering is. But right, let's walk it through. But does Uber have anything to offer? This is Waymo's commercial. I think I'm going to turn off the music here. Yeah. Waymo 1, now available to all, only on Uber. So in Waymo, in Austin, it's only through Uber, as opposed to going through Waymo's app. Yeah, so it's interesting. Now, here's this. Uber will offer Waymo rides on its platform, and they'll manage the fleet. Riders will be prompted to accept or deny driverless rides. So this is the interesting thing where you click the button and you ask you're using the Uber app and you're saying, hey, I want to ride from one place to another place. They may give you a Waymo, they may not. And if they do, then you go, you accept it. But you could ask for it, but it's basically up to Uber to decide, right? So riders who request an Uber X, Uber Green, Comfort, or Uber Comfort Electric could be matched with Waymo's electric Jaguar at no additional cost, and is priced the same, by the way. Customers will have the option to accept or switch to a non-driverless before nearby Waymo's dispatched. They could increase their chances of being sent in an autonomous vehicle if they indicated their preference in the Uber app. That's how they're doing it. It's a multi-year partnership between Uber and Waymo, and basically, hoping, right? Uber and Waymo Uber was hoping that they would be this middleman. They would have multiple different choices, of which Waymo is one. Right now, they're launching one. We'll talk about this paragraph here where they chose this company, but let's share a little bit more information. Here's Waymo, new way to ride in Austin, increase your chances getting matched. The CEO of Waymo said we're launching Waymo 1 on the Uber app. And then you got Dara, the CEO of Uber, saying the same thing. What's your thinking about how they've set this up where you don't actually choose the company, the car?
Yeah, it really does raise the question of whether or not Waymo will also have the ability to just use the Waymo app to, like, say you're coming to Austin because you want to try a driverless car. Can you just use the Waymo app to make sure that you get the car? Because if you only have the option of using the Uber app, like, how many times you're gonna have to request a ride to randomly, get assigned the robotaxi version? That would be kind of interesting. Now, for most people, that's not going to be part of the decision making process for them ordering an Uber. So I think that at the high level, this makes a lot of sense for Uber. This is, if you're Uber, this is how you want this to be structured. That the size of the fleet of Waymos that's going to be available to supply rides is going to be small, and you just kind of want to integrate it seamlessly into your marketplace. And if a driverless Waymo happens to be close to the customer when they request a ride, then sure, you want to match them with that vehicle. But you don't want them to have to wait longer to get one that's further away from them. And so the ability to switch back and forth between regular Ubers with drivers versus these driverless Waymos, it helps to improve the overall quality of service on the metrics that Uber cares about, which are going to be, how long does it take the car to get to you? And, what is the cleanliness of the car? And can it get you there quickly? And all those things. So it makes a lot of sense from that perspective. If I'm Waymo, I am curious what Waymo is getting out of this deal other than not having to maintain the fleet. Maybe they're getting funding for deploying this fleet. It's, we don't really have a whole lot of the details of what the partnership is offering Waymo in return. And those are the questions that I'm really curious, because those are the questions that help to answer, what type of value proposition would Uber be providing to Tesla? And I know we're going to get more into that here in just a moment, on one important dimension of the service. But yeah, I don't understand the uh, the value proposition for Waymo other than the fact that Uber can definitely keep these cars busy. And so if they're having a hard time with, uptime and usage on these vehicles in some of their other markets, then maybe that makes sense. Or, the other thing is that those markets have been developed for a long time. Like, obviously, San Francisco is very tech forward. It's going to be very easy for this, as one of the most technologically advanced solutions on the road in San Francisco, for them to get riders. And maybe they don't expect that that's necessarily going to be the case in Austin. Maybe they think it's going to be harder to actually attract customers. And so, from a marketing perspective, maybe this makes sense for them.
Yeah.
There's some different calculus in the decision for both parties. And to reiterate, on the capital side, if Uber is providing capital to help fund the build out of the fleet, that's a huge win for Waymo. So that would be, another big thing.
Yeah. They've not announced it. But first of all, it's very tiny numbers, right? So Waymo has 700 cars right now. We haven't announced how many more Jaguars they're going to build. They still need to build them. They still need to get them out there. And
And
they're
that's
split
exactly
already.
why, yeah, Uber can't allow you to pick, do I want a robotaxi or not? It's just because
Yeah.
there's not enough of.
And that's why Waymo can't do it on their app too, because now you're going to split it between Waymo app and Uber app, and you just want to keep it focused. But there's 700 cars in 4 cities now, and they're adding in Austin. So a couple hundred cars, if they're lucky. Otherwise, they're going to have to shut down or reduce the cars available in Phoenix and LA and San Francisco. So we're talking a couple hundred cars. If they're lucky. That's what we're talking about. So it's
And
more
and
like
this
for
is,
show
one of the
than
really big challenges for Waymo in general, is their ability to scale up to the large fleets that are necessary, to
yeah.
operating an Uber network equivalent that is completely robotaxi ride hail, requires all those cars. And it's easy for Uber to deploy thousands, if not tens of thousands of cars in a specific city. because all those cars are there. Like, you're just attracting riders.
New drivers.
It's a
Yeah.
whole different, or yeah, drivers. It's a whole different story when you are talking about a robotaxi, because you have to have a specially manufactured car that's capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And this is where Tesla's just going to have a huge advantage, that, you know, once Cybercab production gets up to speed, or even before then, like if they decide, hey, we're just going to start building out robotaxi fleets with Model 3s and Model Ys in all of these cities, like, if it takes, I think the number that James Dalma has estimated for the city of Chicago is that you
Hmm.
could fully cover the city of Chicago with 10,000 cars. That's like 2 days of production versus
Yeah.
like years worth of production of
Yeah.
Waymos at this point in time. Now, obviously, they want to scale up and make that faster, but they have to do that, and they haven't done it yet. And so it's a huge challenge for
What's
them.
what's your guess if when Tesla launches in Austin, how many cars? Do you think it's going to be 200, just like Waymo is? Or somewhere under 700, or do you think it's going to be thousands? When I listen to Elon, he says we already have thousands of cars driving riderless in our factories in California and soon in Austin. Just the cars that they're producing every day is already doing this. And they already have, right? In California, they said employees are already pretty well testing and ride hailing using driverless cars now. He said thousands. So I just can't see that they're going to do 200 or some small number. He did say dip toe, dip toe, dip toe, though. So what's your
Yeah, so
estimate?
that's the exact statement, that it's hard to decode. you know, Tesla and Elon, they don't like to do things small. So on everything inside of me thinks
Yeah.
that they're going to roll this thing out at scale pretty quickly, but it may be, maybe the first month is a couple of hundred cars. It'll really depend on, I don't think that the cars are going to be the bottleneck. I think the bottleneck is
Exactly.
going to be
Yep.
how many
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
remote supervised operators they're going to have, and how often they're having to intervene, and how much do they want to debug. I mean, what we've seen with FSD beta is that they do a lot to constrain the number of users on their system while they're still trying to hammer out all the bugs. And I think that we are going to be in a phase early
Hmm.
on of trying to hammer out all the bugs. And so, while it's possible that they have been able to pre-do all this work. I mean, we know they've been working really hard on this system, super incognito, there in California already. And we know they're doing stuff at both factories as far as on premise. And there's potential that there's even more than that going on in Austin, because they're so good at keeping secrets right now. I don't know how to gauge what the progress of that internal testing really looks like to know how fast this rollout is going to be. And it could be that they've really worked out all the bugs, and we launch with 1,000 cars, and then we quickly scale to multiple thousands of cars. Or it could also be that we're going to
Hmm.
just deploy 500 cars, and it's going to take us 2, 3, 4 months to really iron out all the bugs. But then once we get all the bugs ironed out,
Exactly. Yep.
then we just go to, straight to those 5,000. Either way,
Hmm.
in June of 2026, I expect there to be at least
Yeah.
6 or 7 thousand Tesla robotaxis operating
Yeah.
in Austin, and to have many other cities that have multiple thousands of
Multiple
vehicles
thousands.
operating as
Well,
well.
yeah. I like what you said earlier, which is the right thing, which is they're not hardware constrained, right? They can
Yeah.
put in thousands of cars, their owned ones,
Yeah.
or even,
Yeah,
he's already said
it's
by
all the
next year.
supporting infrastructure that goes
That's
into
the test.
operating that fleet, that
Yeah.
is and it both from how many, safety supervisors do they have, but also
Hmm.
the cleaning infrastructure, the charging infrastructure. So all of
Yeah.
that stuff is going to be where your bottlenecks are. But they're
Yeah.
going to be pushing hard on all those bottlenecks. Like, that's Elon's whole thing is, okay, what's the bottleneck today? Like, let's solve it this week, and then move to the next one.
Let's watch a commercial just for fun, Uber's commercial.
Dad, what do you think the name of this driver is? I don't see a driver.
Yeah.
Do you Uber to class? Because I noticed you get a lot of parking tickets. So you must be driving somewhere.
Tickets are brutal around campus, so I think Uber is the way to go.
I've just spent a couple blocks, but it drives a lot better than ours did last night coming from the airport. That was the
I
worst.
missed like 3 turns.
How does Waymo know we're at a red light?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought you told it. Dad, did you have a computer in college?
I did not hear.
Did you have a cell phone?
Of course not.
How old were you when you got a cell phone?
Probably 65.
Dad, you can go to class with him if you want. You want to go to class with him?
Oh, look, we've arrived.
Now have a great day, son.
Have a good day, Clay.
Yeah, thanks for the
Go ahead,
ride,
Marco.
fellas. Hopefully no one sees
All
us.
right,
Give us a
buddy.
big hug.
Hi, boss.
Oh, yes.
Bring it in.
Waymo, thanks for the ride. Appreciate it. Hope to see you soon.
All right, you got me in my seatbelt. You got to get me out.
Here you go, big guy. Appreciate it, Waymo.
Okay. Yeah. Good commercial. Fun. More about the family, the Manning family did anything to do with
the
Waymo,
car.
but yeah, that's still good.
It did look like a very, very small back seat. So that
Yeah.
is, and the fact that you like, well,
That's
I mean, for the
interesting,
shot,
isn't it?
obviously
'Cause
they want to keep everybody in the back seat, but it would have been much more comfortable if it was 2 in the back and 1 in the passenger seat.
Three big guys. Yeah, I know. So they're marketing this obviously, and I think that's what this is, right? Get out there, show that
Yep.
we're autonomous now, and we got Waymo.
Mhm.
You got a couple hundred cars out there, and we'll hide it from the app. So we'll see how they actually manage this. Let's talk about this
and
bit.
I'll just say real quickly that, while I'm skeptical about Waymo's ability to scale this solution rapidly and across the whole country, it is just really exciting that they have like
Yeah.
been able to build this system that really, like, in the areas where they've done the full HD mapping and they've put
Yeah.
in the work, it actually works, and it's a super cool experience. I haven't actually been able to ride in a Waymo yet, but I'm looking for, like, I will definitely do it, and I'm looking forward to it. And I know that it's a magical experience for lots of people, and they are doing that. The fact that they're doing that work, it's an incredibly impressive technological feat. I have to give them huge kudos and props. Autonomous vehicle technology is obviously going to save
Yeah.
a lot of human lives over time, and so you have to, you know, applaud all
Yeah.
of the people who are doing all of the hard work that's necessary to make this technology possible. And then it's a magical experience that people who have actually ridden in one are really excited about. It is one of those things that makes the future feel exciting for people who've experienced it.
And they're charging
and
the
yeah, I
same
just have
price
to,
too. So
yeah.
it's like people are willing to choose this ride, even it's the same
Mhm.
price as a normal Uber ride, normal, Lyft ride. So here's the other thing is, so they talk about how currently Waymo cars on Uber app are priced the same as regular Uber rides. One of the factors in terms of Uber rides costs going high is actually the cost of insurance. So maybe they're saying, if you can have less insurance, less safety, more safety, they can reduce the cost of Uber rides. So they're blaming it on insurance as the one of the ways of it. So
Well,
Uber also.
so
Mhm.
there's, obviously two factors that go into insurance costs. One of them is how safe of a driver are you, but the other one is if you're operating in an environment that you get run into, then you're not the only one who controls whether or not you get into an accident. So, and that's going to be a factor not only for Waymo but also for Tesla. So the difference though is that if your Jaguar Waymo vehicle gets hit by a driver, that vehicle costs a lot more to fix and replace
Yeah.
than a Tesla Model 3 or eventually a Cybercab, which is going to factor in the cost of insurance for the Waymo on Uber
Yeah.
versus the Tesla solution. So
And if it has evasive maneuvers, that's what
that work
we
really
don't.
well, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
that are
not
effective.
sure if the Waymos have evasive maneuvers. They can drive around. They can certainly not hit things because they've got the lidars. But hopefully, I don't know how good.
I'm sure
evasive
they probably
maneuvers are
have
like.
some evasive capability, but it's probably very limited compared to what a Tesla can do.
Exactly. So this part here is very interesting. I wanted to ask you about it because Uber they've announced that they are working with a Spanish fleet operator called Vomo, formerly called Move, to manage the car cleaning, the maintenance, and the charging. And Uber bought 30% minority stake in Vomo in 2021, and and they plan to invest as much as 185 million into Vomo through early 2029. But so Waymo is still responsible for vehicle testing, roadside assistance, and certain aspects of rider support. But Uber, through their partnership, is going to do the cleaning, the maintenance, and charging. And so, yeah, tell me what your thoughts about that, because it's a little bit of a
I
weird
thought
thing, isn't it?
Jason, yeah,
Yeah,
Calacanis has told me that
yeah,
the value proposition that Uber had to provide to Tesla if they would do this magical deal is that Uber would handle all of the fleet maintenance stuff. And, by extension, that would include all these things that Uber doesn't do today. Like
yeah,
Uber's partnering with Avomo because they don't do this and they want somebody else to handle it. And so, like, why would you have multiple tiers of middlemen between you and the people providing this service? Like, Tesla vertically integrates things on purpose for a reason. They
yeah.
don't want to be working with Uber so that Uber can then pass this off to Avomo. That's just not how Tesla operates. And anyone who's really paying attention, you could see this coming from a mile away. Like, Uber doesn't do this work. Of course, like, they're going to have to develop this capability from scratch. And so either they're going to have to develop it, in-house, or they're going to have to partner with someone. Either way, it's not a skill that they have, demonstrated excellence in to this point. And so you're gambling on it one way or the other. And if you're in Tesla shoes, you're like, well, I'll bet you I can execute on that way better than Uber and or whoever it is that they partner with. So why would I take that gamble? Like, I'll just do it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a little weird. So Uber really is just an app. And by the way, where does Avomo going to do the charging? So they do cleaning, maintenance, and charging. So, you know, how do they do that? Don't know. We'll figure it out.
Hey, and if Avomo's great at it, there's no reason that Tesla can't work directly with them anyways.
Exactly. So, okay, this is interesting. So, Uber wants to say, hey, we're the app. Now you can choose autonomous rides as part of it. So it's still interesting that Waymo decided that they're going to go this route because they did not need to. They probably got paid because in the other cities, they got their own app and they're doing just fine. They only have 700 cars. They're all being ordered through the Waymo app. There's no demand issue there. So they didn't need to do this in Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the most likely scenario in my mind is that this is a Wayfinder partnership that Uber obviously wants robotaxi capability on their network. And so they're heavily incentivized since Tesla, Elon has made it clear we're not doing the deal with you that you want to do. That, okay, well, we got to figure something else out. And so I'm sure that this deal was driven by Uber's desire to have this capability on the network. And then Waymo knows that their go-to-market strategy over the long term, they don't have the ability to reach the types of scale on their own that they want to reach. And so they're going to have to do it through partnerships. And Uber is, at least they're a tech company, not some, legacy car maker. And it's going to be a lot easier for them to work with somebody like Uber than it is for them to work with somebody like GM. But they still do have to figure out the whole manufacturing challenges. But that, obviously, they're working with somebody like Zeekr. It's like, okay, we'll do manufacturing in Asia Pacific. Hopefully we don't get wrecked by tariffs. And then on the, network distribution, marketing, regulatory interface with all these municipalities, all that stuff will work with Uber. And that could be another, part of the reason for Waymo to work with Uber on this rollout in Austin is that every time you go into one of these new jurisdictions, it takes work to interface with those local governments.
And these
And
guys,
that's something that Uber actually does have
yeah,
a capability to do, experience in. Obviously, getting a robotaxi service approved is not the exact same as getting a
Waymo's
ride
done it
hailing
several times.
service. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they've done it several times, but do they want to do it a 1,000 times?
Yeah.
And so it's not that they can't do it. It's just that, do you want to do that thing at scale?
Yeah. The other thing about Waymo is people that go, oh, they're already doing it. They are, but there's small numbers in small number cities, and that's a first step.
It's the
But
whole
what
Paul Graham thing. You do things in the beginning that don't scale.
they'll scale,
And
and that's fair. That's fair. Absolutely agree with that. Right? That's okay. But when they do scale, and that's what you need to start planning for, is how do you scale big time? And this is where, okay, Uber's partnering with Avomo, cleaning, maintenance, and charging. But I just wanted to point out a few more things. Like people think, oh, they already got it. They don't have it yet. Waymo needs to prove that they can scale. And here's one example. Right. So Tesla announced this new technology called cabin radar, a 4D imaging sensor that requires little power and can detect respiration through organic non-metallic occlusions, such as car seats. So they're saying, hey, this is cabin radar. We know how many people are in the car. We know if they're having, they're breathing or not. And so that tells us if there's children, kids in the heat stroke, and we can kind of prevent these deaths in heat stroke. Cabin radar first row sensing comes standard on new Model Ys and Model 3s and Cybertruck and will be enabled on 2020 and newer Model Ys over the air updates. So child presence detection will soon be rolled out to all vehicles. This is just little tiny, I don't know, maybe it's not a little tiny thing, but it's a technology that they've created, has multiple use cases. Here's one. But you can imagine how this would work in a robotaxi car. Right now, I know how many
oh yeah.
people are in the car. Is there someone sleeping? Maybe they're lying down somewhere, maybe they're in the back in the area. The car
Well,
will
that was an
know.
interesting part of that. It did say first row, so it'll
But it's
be
over the air
interesting.
update. They could
Yeah,
yeah,
to see if they can add the
they can
rear
add the cabin rear, front
seats.
rear if they wanted to.
Yeah,
But the point is that this is a tech that lets you decide if there's a human in there or not a human there, how long they've been in there for. Uh, does Waymo have that? Are they going to build that in the future? Do you need it? Maybe not, maybe, but it still is something that these things all add up to reduce costs, knowing which car is actually free or not free, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes in. Just the safety part alone is absolutely huge, and it's a big selling point whether you're a consumer that you just want this car for yourself. But I think, like you said, there's also a lot of applications if it's a commercial product as well. So uh, I love to see, Tesla continuing to evolve their sensor suite, try all these things. It just shows that they
Yeah.
really are thinking about a lot of the different complexities that go into being able to provide, whether it's robotaxi services or just unsupervised driving services for consumer owned vehicles. Like there's a lot that goes into that. And then even just if you are the one driving it and you've got kids in the car, like improving safety, they're always, they never stop. They're always thinking about what can we do to make this product a better product.
Yeah.
And it is something that's simple. It's like why are
Yeah.
so few of the
Yes.
other auto companies
Yeah.
continuing to really push the boundaries in safety? Their whether it's their advanced driver assistance systems, which are still kind of lagging behind, or things like the seatbelt pre-tensioning when you know that you're going to get into a car wreck. Like even with the old technology that a lot of those other companies have, there's no reason that they should
Yeah.
not be able to do something like that, but they're not the ones who are pushing those boundaries. And it's sad to see that no one else is taking safety as seriously as Tesla because it's a huge deal.
Good points. Thank you so much, Hans. That was a lot of fun. This is it. Uber and Waymo coming into Austin, and then Tesla's going to be there as well. And we're going to start seeing. And I like what you said earlier, which is, hey, kudos to Waymo. They pushed it. You were here. Autonomy and robotaxi is not that weird, and it's actually starting to happen. These are for all small steps, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that they took
And,
that first small top. Yeah.
I think there's a path for them to be a company that survives and profits.
Yeah.
They have some huge challenges ahead of them, but I certainly, in the realm of automotive companies, I think Waymo's got a brighter future than GM.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's risk free, but even if they aren't able to be as successful as Tesla, which I don't think that they will be, um, there's still a shot that as a company, they're a viable company. And there's going to be a lot of people that are trying to work with someone. And if they can't work with Tesla, then Waymo becomes, a great second option. So, yeah, I would say I'm neutral on Waymo. I'm not bullish on them, but I'm not
Right.
necessarily completely bearish on them. I think that they're in a better position than most people in the oncoming future that we're looking at. And I'm to reiterate one of the other points that I made, I'm excited that there is competition in the space because
Yeah.
it's better for everyone. It's better for consumers. It's better for Tesla that other people are actually operating this technology. And, we get to see which things work better and which ones don't. Cause, Tesla certainly wasn't going to try this method. And so now when it's all said and done, everyone's going to know which architecture is actually the best architecture because they both got built. And we're going to be able to see, what's the safety record of one versus the other, what's the economics of one versus the other. And it's great that
You
we
got
get
something
to
to
have,
compare against. Yeah, I
yeah,
like that.
it's great to
And
have both.
Uber can do all the commercials they want.
Yep.
Please. That's great. You do all the advertising for.
Market all of the robotaxis so that people can then go get in their Tesla.
Thanks, Hans. Follow Hans on his YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson. Well, I'll also put his referral link. So if you want to save up to $2,500 if you're about to buy a Tesla, use his link, and then you get save that, and he gets a little bit as well. Appreciate you so much, Hans. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.